What is going on? Boom. It is your host, SCPCRNP, aka Lack of Lepers, back again, weeknightly as we are, always, 7:30 p.m. CST, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. If you have any comments, questions, feel free to throw them up in the comments section there. And if you have any recommendations for what we might like to watch next, I got plenty. I got cold storage. My freezer is filled. I got no more room in the freezer. So, but I'll be happy to look at suggestions. So let's get right back to it. So yesterday, God, was that yesterday? It's been a long day. Yesterday, we were looking at pataphysics with Placeholder McDoctorate. And we were getting to about the last third of it, and we were just starting to get introduced to his 001 proposal. And he was sort of talking us through that a little bit. And I wanted to try to listen a little more tonight because I felt like I jumped the gun, just a wee bit, smidgen style perhaps, with the judgment. So we're going to finish that tonight. Let's pull that up here. Boom. Here's where we were. So we're going to let this kind of fly, and I'm going to shut up. And so we can kind of get a nice holistic picture of this 001. So let us continue where we left off.
They just looked at the 001 slot one day, which now in this version of reality never had 001 proposals in it, never had the retirement proposals in it. And it's just like a single document that they have no idea.
But I got to go back because
it was uploaded by.
I'm already lost. Like we gotta find a docking point here. I think
other people have no recollection of any Maria Jones.
We gotta go back a ways, don't we? Damn it.
So she's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And she's like, nobody uploaded this file. We have no history of anybody actually uploading this file.
So just review, because I want to make sure that I get it so far. So basically, in universe, the SCP-001 slot is kind of like this formality. It's like this sinecure spot that people get when they're, retiring, when they've done good work. It's sort of like the Lifetime Achievement Award or something like that. So basically, they will rotate out anomalies, I guess, which seems kind of strange. Either these are anomalies that exist as other numbers, and then they have to be sort of moved to 001, I guess. And it seems to be sort of like a rotating revolving door for entries. And each entry is just sort of somebody's darling anomaly, whether it's Dr. Gears, whether it's Lily, as he talks about, or quantums or something like that. So basically what's happening in universe when those, rather relatively mundane anomalies show up in this slot, they end up developing, quite the significance. And so that's really the setting here. And so somebody comes along in universe and says, it's kind of weird that all of these anomalies, once we reallocate them to the 001 slot, get really crazy. So there's probably something going on with the slot number. And so we probably shouldn't put new things into the 001 slot. So I think that's basically a pretty fair synopsis of where we are now. And we're about to get right back into it where Maria Jones kind of pops up.
To the 001 slot that talks about this informational entity. And we don't know who wrote it, and we don't know who's adding these addenda. And then there's something added that says, please disregard this message. Please, treat the 001 slot as more significant. And then Maria Jones is like, I didn't write that. Please disregard it. And so after all that happens, then it's you can click to the next iteration. And I'll explain in a bit why they're presented as different documents that you can click through. Mm-hmm. But you click to the next one, and now reality has been changed. So all of the people that work at Site 01, the head command center of the Foundation, including the 05 Council, the Records and Security Information Administration, and several other people have no recollection of any Maria Jones ever existing, and have kind of forgotten about this 001 thing where it's amplifying proposals or amplifying what's happening in the 001 slot. And they like just looked at the 001 slot one day, which now in this version of reality never had 001 proposals in it, never had the retirement proposals in it, and it's just like a single document that they have no idea. It says it was uploaded by Maria, a set of credentials belonging to someone in the database named Maria Jones, and the file just says Maria Jones does not exist. And they're all really confused. They're like, what, who is this Maria Jones person? Like, what in the hell? What is any of this? But all of the people in the whole rest of the Foundation, a lot of them do remember Maria Jones and are saying, like, what? She's the director of RISA. Like, she's in charge of all of the records at the entire Foundation, all of the documents that we write and read, all of the SCP documents. She's in charge of all of them. She's helped contain a bunch of anomalies. She's super important. How do you guys not remember her? And Site-01 is like, oh shit, do we, like, are we remembering things incorrectly? Have we been affected by some informational anomaly? And 051, the head of the 05 Council, is like, no, I've always been in charge of records and security. We don't know.
Okay.
It seems like the entire rest of the Foundation is wrong, and we're right, I think. And they're like, I mean, okay, like, if you say so. And so then he basically goes, like, then they find, like, a phone call at Maria Jones' supposed, like, home or whatever. There's, like, a message on the receiver, and it's, like, a message from someone who says she's Maria Jones and that she's going to be deleted from reality and she can't figure out how to change it, but that she's going to somehow become, like, mixed in with some anomaly that's, like, trying to destroy things. And then she's like, I think the anomaly is going to eat me now. Yeah. And then, like, the call ends. And 051 is like, guys, don't worry about it. This Maria Jones person obviously never existed. What's important is we got to focus on whatever it is that's making everyone else at the entire Foundation think that she does exist. So this is really important and really significant, and we need to worry about it more. And then we get the next version of the document, and the next version of the document is like, SCP-001 is this...
The next CSS variant.
This series of documents that were uploaded to the 001 slot that we don't know anything about or why they were uploaded there, but they seem to talk about some version of God that existed a long time ago from some ancient civilization. And their version of God, the way they seem to see it in these documents, is
this the Among Us SCP in 001 form? Right, isn't that what the Among Us guy was trying to do? He was playing Among Us. The Greek god was playing the god of mischief or something like that. He was playing Among Us so that he would be relevant again, right? Is that what this is? Kinda?
Called the Archivist Prime, which has, like, two sides that are, like, two sides of the same coin.
Man, okay, so I'm really trying to give this a chance. You all know this because I've shut up. You know, I haven't said much yet. This has gotten remarkably complicated, like, really quickly, and not in a way that I can follow. It seems like it just dove off the deep end. Like, I kind of followed you when it was like, now I still think everything that I said, which is like, you know, you basically did a two-step with the out of universe mythology of 001s and just repackaged that as pataphysical. You know, so I felt like that was kind of a gimmick to get started off, but you know, I kind of digged it in a way. I thought it was real clever. You know, obviously there's a ton of work and you know, charm in taking all of these 001 entries that we all love and making them into, like, these, you know, sort of like diet versions. You know, yeah. So I mean, that was great, but then now it's like it's just trying really, really, really hard, you know, to get, like, It almost is operating off this premise that the more convoluted you can get, the more elements you can wrangle in. We've got attached to what I've just said, we've got so many like dangling appendages that don't actually form as far in the direction as is clearly the intent here. I mean, you've got like these like things sort of super glued and pasted on, like Maria Jones kind of being there. Like, oh, suddenly she's not anybody. Oh, suddenly like there's a god from some archaic time that, I mean...
The archival form, the primordial form. Okay. And yeah, like you said,
oh, no, look at this. Look. Oh, no. Oh, no. Can y'all see this? I'm zooming in. Can you see this? Oh, no. Now, I'll give him this. It's controlled Zalgo, because it actually spells out anomaly in the superscript, the super Zalgo script. But let me just put this into perspective for you. RPCs 001. The RPC authorities 001. The first one, which existed from June 2018 to I think it was February 2021, has Zalgo text all over it. Now, I mean, it's not as controlled as this is, but this is a flagrant dequalification here. I don't know if you can come back from this. Just this. I don't know. I cannot believe this is in here. I really can't. To me, it confirms what I've just been worried about, which is that the more sort of like gimmicky things you can just paste onto something in the general area of it, the cooler it is. It's plus good, and that's kind of what this is. I mean, it's a perfect microcosm of the entire article. It's a perfect microcosm because it takes a word and tries to dance around the actual syntax in the same way that this pataphysical idea tries to dance around this one word, which is just 001 slot, right? And it has to put all these like diacriticals, these custom diacriticals, and the Zalgo text all over it. It's just like, come on, man. Like, you've mistaken, sort of like effortful pushing in just as many directions as you can as progress, as like a good product here. I'm sorry. This is wow. So I'm trying to give this a hard time. If you're just now joining us, thank you for joining us. And I've really shut up this whole time trying to listen to this 001 because I want to like it, because I was saying the premise of it I think is pretty interesting, but it just goes haywire here. I have no clue. The connections, they're like non sequiturs. They're pataphysical leaps. They're wormholes, just from one place to the next.
Form writes a bunch
Zalgo
of potential
text,
things
man.
that
Whew.
reality could be, and the archival form deletes all of the ones that it doesn't think reality should be, and writes into reality just the ones that it thinks are like the good versions of what reality should be, or whatever.
I mean, once again, this is just a very thin, almost transparent metaphor for just the authors, or really just the voting class. People deciding who, what is going to stay in the site, I mean, it's all repurposed.
What this represents is that the primordial form is the anomaly that is trying to write stuff into the 001 document, or into the 001 file, so it can be perceived as more significant. And the archival form is Maria Jones, the director of the Records and Information Security Administration. And
chewy.
Now that she's somehow been intertwined or combined with the anomaly in some way, they are fighting for control of the 001 slot, and as such, fighting for control over what reality should be. The idea is the anomaly is able to rewrite reality by editing documents. So it can...
I mean, how many times can you pause this and just say, That's just what happens in real life. That's just real life. That's just so like, okay, the point, let me put it this way. The point of an author is to take, creative input fodder from your daily walk in life, things of life, and then transmute them into a story in the literature form. Well, this is doing the minimal possible steps in that process, which is just that it's observing what's already happening in the real world and literally translating them verbatim onto the page, and then making the claim, sort of stamping it, with this pataphysical sort of ethos, I guess, and counting them as like characters and like plot devices and stuff, and like, how many times in this description can you just say, you're ripping off just just the lore of what happens? You're directly reading from everything that actually just happens on the SCP Wiki. I just don't know how profound that is.
You can edit documents in the SCP-01 slot, and then as it becomes more significant, it can edit more and more documents, so it starts to gain control over the entire Site-01 database, and then other Foundation facilities, and then like the entire Foundation database as a whole. And Maria Jones is trying to fight against it by deciding, okay, no.
So it's like Kalinen's 001. It's like Kate McTierris's 001. It's like the end of Metal Gear Solid 2. It's like Soul Train, and it's like SCP-3999. Just with researcher Taloran replaced with Maria Jones. Is that right? Did I get that right? Is that about the
These
constellation?
Things shouldn't be true. These things shouldn't be true. This is how reality should be. And in one of those like fake documents,
I've never heard so many words say so little.
That are from this fictional civilization that had this god, the Archivist Prime. There's like a message from the archival form, and it's Maria Jones trying to say, like, I don't remember who I was, but I know I'm fighting against the anomaly. I don't understand how we're entwined together. I'm in this like surreal like hellscape, and I have no idea what's going on, but I'm trying to fight it. And then 051 at the end of the document.
Here we go. Look at this. First it was Zalgo text, and then it was hidden text. Sorry, doesn't this give you the vibe of it's just like trying way too desperately to be like impressive? Like, it's desperately trying to be intelligent. It's desperate to be seen as intelligent, and that's kind of interesting because it's written into the character. Once again, you're taking like just the surface, the most superficial patina of real world reality, and casting them into a pataphysical sense. It's like just dipping your toes into the compositional waters, calling it a day. That's really what this is. Look at this. So this is another perfect kind of microcosm. So this obviously took a lot of work, going through and matching these like 1 letters, 2 letters, with the background of this. That took. And for example, this one is an image file. So this takes a lot of work. But that doesn't mean that it's good. I'm sorry. Like, if we lived in a world where there was a 1-to-1 correspondence with how hard you worked and how good the reception or good the product is, that's just not the world we live in. I hate to say that, I could quote Kalinin. Kalinin said that. Let's take a trip. Let's let them talk, and I'll take a trip.
It's like, it seems like if we try to contain either of these or like stop this from happening, like it might actually have some effect on reality where only like all of these false worlds and different interpretations of reality exist and the true ones don't, or whatever. So we should just leave it alone and not touch it, but we should all be really, really worried about it, and everyone should perceive it as significant, which of course amplifies the anomaly. So if it's not clear at this point, 051 is being controlled by the anomaly somehow because they're number 1 And because the anomaly is totally concerned with things that are number one and are the most significant, the anomaly has found a way to control the most significant person at the Foundation. And we're assuming in this interpretation of the Foundation, the administrator doesn't exist or isn't around for whatever reason.
So, I mean, once again, he's describing how this anomaly has taken control of the most important person in the Foundation, when really that's just, once again, a very surface level reflection of what the author just does generally anytime it casts a character. This really is no different from some, low budget, really bad article suddenly just placing the O5 Council in at the end, to their dreadfully boring and dreadfully low stake anomaly just because it's the O5. It's really the same thing. It's just this version is decorated as if it's some pataphysical revelation, as if it's some pataphysical genius motion, but it's not. Let's see.
Reason or whatever. So 051 is like the top of the top of the chain, and the anomaly is mind controlling him or rewriting his personality through rewrite.
All right, let's read this. This is Kalinin. So by the way, if you don't know what I'm looking at here, this is the Containment Fiction Wiki, where we write articles, encyclopedia-like articles on shit, in the containment fiction space. And this one is Kalinin. It's an article about Kalinin. And in this article are collected quotes. So I'm going to read this quote. This is from Kalinin, and it's on meta, writing, and pataphysics. This latest exercise in the tiresome meta trend that's affected this site is prone to a lot of the same underlying issues that other pieces have. Reliance on the novelty of, hey, we're in a fictional universe, that wore off years ago. The navel-gazing of self-referential site history. I'm just going to let that sentence sit for a second in the context of what we're hearing. Wow. This is why we did an article on Kalinin. The fanfic level wish fulfillment that ended up closing this piece. This is actually about 3999, I think. Treating the development of a story as secondary to the establishment of a character's. There's a reason that stories tend to resonate more than people waving their arms at each other and directly explaining things. When the characters in the story are doing that at me, I'm done. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and this is another one. This is really the one I was trying to look for. The original assertions that you can't call someone's piece nonsense because they worked hard on it, and that a piece somehow being for healing purposes makes it immune to being described as such, don't stand up to scrutiny at all. You don't get to be immune to criticism because you put a certain amount of arbitrarily defined work into it. I mean, those two sentences could coast us through this entire interview, this entire podcast. You don't get to be immune to criticism because you put a certain amount of arbitrarily defined work into it. The navel-gazing of self-referential site history. That is exactly what this 001 is doing by Placeholder. It's taking every little bit of site history, self-referencing it, coating it with the thinnest layer of paint that's called pataphysics, with everything pointing back to the author just doing the normal author thing that every author does in any article, and trying to sell that thin eggshell layer of paint as this deepest, the deepest concept you could come across. The most intelligent direction, to use Placeholder's quote, his own words right here.
Writing his personnel file in the database or whatever, but as somehow modifying him to make him want to make everybody see it as more significant. And he might be conscious of it, he might not be conscious.
I mean, so is it not just like painfully, almost awkwardly clear that the pataphysical commentary is bleeding over into his own personality at this point in the interview? I mean, he's basically, I hate to say it. I mean, I wish that I'm not the one constructing this article, but basically this entity is a stand-in for the author, being able to control things like 05, trying to determine the reality of the 001. I mean, it's a placeholder, we could say, for the author behind the page. And here we are talking about the psychology of the pataphysical entity trying to desperately make itself significant. Like, I think that's what you did by writing the 001. The best articles on the site are not 001s. I mean, especially if you want to go by like upvotes and shit. I mean, they're not. A 001 should be the culmination of your style, period. And if it's got a lot of upvotes to it, I mean, great. If it dips into some lore in site history, if it takes a new angle about something, great. It should be your stylistic culmination. But all too often nowadays, it's a cash grab. It's a grab for upvote. It's a grab for clout. It's so that you can see your self-insert's doctorized name on the list of 001s. I mean, honestly, if this is this guy's compositional magnum opus, if this is this guy's peak, if this is the culmination of his style, well, then I'm sorry. Like, this is a dramatic failure. I mean, look at this. This is like the idea behind this is that you can Swiss cheese this and it somehow be more profound by not telling us things. It's really an argument of intelligence from obfuscation. It's taking away the things that you might need to make a determination as to whether or not this is good or intelligent or whatever adjective you want to use. And it uses the ambiguity of the lack of information that it creates to suggest that argument.
Of it, it's not really specified. Fast forward to the next version of rewritten reality. In this version of reality, the anomaly has gotten itself to be perceived as so significant that it can basically affect anything that is perceived as being the first or most significant of a set of things. So if you have any set of things, and they can be ordered from most to least significant, the first element of that set of things can be affected by this new version of the anomaly and amplified to be way more significant than any of the other things in the set.
Did you not read Kate McTierris' 001 before you posted this? I mean, that is word for word what that article is about. And then look at this. You even have a consensus reality. I mean, there's two 001s that deal with consensus normalcy. One is Wrong John Silver, but the other one actually is man, I wish these were not randomized. Jesus. Yeah, Wrong. See, this is why it's so confusing. Wrong John Silver did one called Normalcy. And then Wrong, Dr. Wrong, something like that, did another one called Consensus. And they're very similar to one another. And I think they were released very close to one another. And I think actually not Doctor, showed a little bit of humility there for self-insert. Yeah, Mr. Wrong, I think released it a little before Wrong John Silver's, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, I'm sorry, but this is just literally, I mean, you're just rehashing. You're sampling other people's 001s. You're sampling verbatim the site lore turned inwardly towards its own navel, and you're calling it deep. Man, no, it's not. It's not deep. The more you have to convince someone that something is deep, the less deep it is. The more you have to go on elaborating and pontificating about how smart it is, the less smart it is. I shouldn't have to try a ridiculous amount just to make it click. That's what this is. Not this. That's what this placeholder 001 is. Sorry, man. I kind of get the vibe that this was just hastily run through just so you can get an SCP up there, 001 up there with your name. So, I mean, I typically am against multiple 001s per author. because once again, it's supposed to be the culmination of your style. Not that your style can't change over a long term, but I think that that's the challenge. You should find those core elements of yourself that don't change. You can be the most changeful person in the world, and there's still going to be components of your personality that remain constant through all those different variations of yourself. Gender change, philosophy change, outlook change, location change, social change, political change. And there's still going to be constants of who you are, of who your personality is, because there are things that are independent of those things, that those things don't reach, those are the deepest parts of you, the things that don't change, from one set of experience to the other throughout your evolution as a person. And those are the things you should be writing upon, for a 001. So, like I said, I usually don't like it when people do more than one 001, because again, I think it's a grab bag I think it's just a cash grab, for clout, for social climbing. But I would maybe want to make an exception to that with Placeholder McDoctorate, because I feel as though, once again, I think that this was prematurely, giddily rushed into for the purely social ramifications of having a 001. And I know 100% for a fact, I know the SCP psyche well enough to know that this rating up here bothers the shit out of him. That's the one thing about SCP, man. They get so bothered by this shit. This is an embarrassment to him. I guarantee it. So, given that Hearts has been broken and that no one thinks like I do, here I am again, standing on my lonely hill. I'm the only one who thinks that there should be multiple 001 proposals from one author. But given that that's, something that no one also thinks, maybe it would be good to see another attempt from Placeholder McDoctorate, because I have a feeling the second one will be better. And that's a compliment, because I think he's gotten better, but it's also kind of a slight, because I think it wouldn't be too hard to be better than this one.
And so if you have a set of things that you are scared about, and one of the things that you're the most scared about is being chased, then the anomaly can amplify the concept of being chased to the point where everyone on Earth feels like they're being chased or something. Like, that's just an example, but the idea is it is now gained the ability to do this to like everything. Mm-hmm. Almost. And there's all of these like conflicting versions of reality, all of the false worlds.
All right, let me just say one more thing. One more thing. Which one is deeper? Placeholder McDoctorate's 001 and all of its pataphysical glory and its multi-CSS wizardry and its elaborate ontokinetic gymnastics and its esoteric secondary classes and its super cool div box compositions and its super plus cool Zalgo text and hidden text, or hang with me for a sec. ... Should really get faster at this. ... Which one? Placeholder McDoctorate's or this one? This one right here. That is a couple paragraphs long. Does this one need a podcast of explanation? No. I'm not saying that everything that needs a podcast of explanation is bad, but my God, there's more truths in the 24 hours of a person's life than there are in all the philosophy books. I'll say it again. And this is a perfect demonstration of that. This is way deeper than Placeholder McDoctorate's voluminous philosophizing over here.
Was the primordial. All of them are existing simultaneously, and there's like a breakdown of the actual structures of reality, and like everything is sort of collapsing in on itself because the anomaly is just destroying everything so it can be perceived as significant by every living being in the universe.
It's just sad, man. I'm trying not to read into commentary on this author from that, but it's just hard not to. It's just sad. I will say this. I like how pataphysics and Dr. Placeholder specifically has latched onto fractals as sort of like the image mascot, the mathematical mascot of pataphysics. Because I mean, on the one sense, it's like it's very true, because it's like these layers upon layers, and the deeper you go, the bigger the microcosms become, and the more familiar they are to just being the same thing you just came from. But that's also the criticism. Is it's just the same shit over and over again, and the deeper you try to go, the more it just like seamlessly defaults back out to the more shallow thing that you started the complex thought from. It's all over. If you look at this is not a coincidence. Let's see. This is not a coincidence. You see the image back here. In the background, fractal. Huge fractal. Beautiful, ornate, elaborate. Yeah. And then here it is again. This is a fractal. I'm sure it shows up a lot more.
And again, this is the point where we get to is the anomaly sentient? Is it doing this because it really wants everyone to perceive it as significant, or is that what it's just programmed to do?
Yeah.
Right? It started out as this concept that somebody came up with. They were like, what if there was this amplifying the O1 slot? That's literally all it is. It's like an AI. It's just its goal is to be perceived as more significant, and it's trying to find the most efficient way to do that to the maximum that it can.
Wow.
So it's doing all of the crazy stuff, and reality is breaking down. And someone at the foundation is like, what if we remove the concept of first from reality? And then it can't affect anything that's the first of any set.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, how do we do that? So there's this anomaly called SCP-5789, but the number's actually missing, so they use this character for it that's it's like a Y character, but it's a special Y character. The idea is that
is it
and
the
this was written by
Zalgo Y?
It's a fantastic anomaly, and you guys should all go check it out. This anomaly, if you attach it or describe it with any specific finite value, any number or any discrete value, it eats that number out of reality, and no one can think about it anymore. So they attach the number 5789 to it, and they can't actually say the number 5789 when they describe it in the document. You can see it in the URL of the actual page that it's SCP-5789.
Yeah.
The number 5789, that value was eaten from existence, written out of existence, and now nobody can do any math that results to that value. And the Foundation basically had to do some crazy fucking cleanup all over the world to make all the computers and clocks and everything work in the absence of this value that they can't even think about because it doesn't exist anymore. And when they describe the anomaly in the document, they have to, and they can't say any dates. They have to say on the September of the year 1 century after this occurred, where the Olympics were held in this state, or whatever.
Yeah.
They have to find all of these creative non-number ways to describe the things they want to describe about the anomaly. And so it's not actually listed as a miscommunication skip, but it's another one of these miscommunication skips, and I could say it's definitely one of the inspirations.
Did the miscommunication skip thing do you think that came from SCP-4000? Because I mean, SCP-4000, in my opinion, is a great article. It's one of the best, in my opinion. I remember reading it for the first. I was just absolutely floored, And when I read it, I think IHP's Future Imperfect was, in first place for the 4000 contest. And then when I read that, it was really picking up steam when I read it. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, dude, I was like, holy shit, man. Which is a pretty common reaction when you read Pepper's Ghost articles. You're just like, what the fuck, man? Like, leave some for the rest of us, dude. Holy shit. But yeah, I remember I was like, wow, this should win. Anyway, so all that to say, 4000 is a fucking amazing article. And I think one of the reasons why it was so amazing was because it sort of reintroduced, not that it was totally novel, mind you, but it sort of reintroduced this like miscommunication sort of esque angle of things where, like, you know, suddenly we have just this whole dimension of referential impediments. You know, like this article here is a referential impediment. And now we have the same ingredient thrown into McDoctorates. 001, which just keeps... It's like one of those creeping plants that has those little tendrils that will reach and grab like other plants and like anything. Anything. Like it'll reach just so that it can grab whatever, you know what I mean? So that it can grab onto it and hopefully produce more fruit. That's kind of what I think this 001 tries to do. I've lost count of all the ingredients that we're working with here. It's just like a giant stew pot. And, you know, contrary to popular belief, the more you throw into a stew pot, you know, the better it does not become.
It's for integer. So somebody at the foundation is like, we can attach this anomaly to the number 1, and it should remove the concept of firstness from reality. And they're like, dude, well, what does that even mean? Will we even be able to like think? Like, how can we exist in a world where the concept of something being first isn't even there?
That would be my question.
And they're like, I don't know, but it's the best we got. Otherwise, reality is going to be destroyed by whatever the fuck is going on right now. So, let's try it. So they try it.
Shit. All right, he just smacked the fuck out of me. So that's why the A is gone. That's why the 1 is gone. That's why level 1 is gone. Yeah, so that's why every A is missing here. Holy shit. Good job, man. Holy fuck, you got me. But still, I still think it's pretty... I don't know. That's pretty fucking good, honestly. Shit. Yeah, it's every fucking A. As first. So any first. Holy shit. The is also the, I guess, because it's singular. Yeah, I don't know about that. I guess we did away with capitalization here too. You can see there's this, I guess we just don't care about capitalization. Well, no, we do. We do. All right, so that boosts us a little bit for sure. I think that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Very cool. Very cool. You got me. Let's keep going.
The number 1 is removed from reality. The letter A is removed from the reality because it's the first of the set of letters. Mm-hmm. Like any idea of the word first or prime or, you know, anything like that is removed from reality. And so then you get this version of the document where all of those letters and things have been removed. Although if you mouse over and highlight all of it, you can actually see that those letters are there. They've just been erased from reality. And now the Foundation has to communicate like in a broken version of English that doesn't use the letter A or the number 1. They have to invent an entirely new like number system that doesn't include the concept of something being first. And so they're like, yes, now we're living in a conceptual hellscape where nothing makes sense, but at least we've stopped the anomaly. And then now the anomaly has nothing to feed off of. Nothing even remembers that it existed or that it was ever perceived as significant because it only is attached to concepts of things being first. Firstness and significance is now able to write things back to the way that she thinks they were supposed to be. And so Maria Jones at the end of that last iteration of the document says, like, I have become entwined with the anomaly. I am in this like surreal state of existence and non-existence as an informational entity, I'm going to write everything back to the way it's supposed to be. And then the last lines are like, I am Maria, protector of records and information security, or something like that. And then it goes all the way back, it cycles back to the first version of the document, which says SCP-001 is irrelevant, don't think about it, don't look into it, do not touch it with the 10-foot pole.
Okay.
All right, wow. That
But
is
here's the
fucking
thing.
clever as shit, dude. Wow. Yeah. Okay, so my mind is blown. My mind is blown. Good job. You did it. Wow, man. That's good. It's really the logic behind the A removal. I wish there was a logic behind the Zalgo text. Is there? Did I miss that? Is there a logic behind the Zalgo text? Anyway, so the logic behind this, shoo, boy, that smacked me across the face. I love that. The one is gone for 0501. And 11? I don't know about that, though. That's a little bit of a stretch, isn't it? Because you'd have to do that for every... I don't know, man. I mean... So, this is an interesting idea, but it's played to... It kind of only goes so far as it wants to. In the sense, like, for example, 0511. Like, would 11 simply be redacted just because it's made of ones? I mean, because if things that are made of ones are redacted, then that would include every number, because every number is made of ones, if you want to break it down reductionist style. But yeah, no, really, it's the loop around. It's the loop around back to the front, and nothing has changed. That's the ticket, man. That's the ticket. That is clever as fuck. Yeah. So now I have to go back and wonder if everything that seemed so chaotic was worth that. I still think that it borrows so heavily. It literally is sampling other people's 001s, and it still is sampling the lore of the 001 slot. Sort of like a love letter to the 001 slot, to every other 001. And even gives it an open invitation, in those retirement proposals for all the other ones to enjoy as well. Yeah, good job, man. Holy shit, you did it. Yeah. I don't think necessarily it was anything about the pataphysics and the memetics. I think this is purely structural. I think the pataphysics was sort of a roundabout way to get to this highly effective treatment structurally. I think it's the structural treatment that's really, really mind-blowing with this article. I think that it achieves its effect in spite of all of this pataphysical jargon here. Could this have been done another way? Yeah, I mean, because honestly, let's, for example, take Kate McTier's 001 and just pick it up right there and say, okay, so, I mean, because it's the same problem, right? The same problem is we got this top slot. So I can't remember what happens in Kate McTier's 001, but they certainly could have done the same technique that is showcased here and then ended up with something like this, where you don't have the ones. These foundations. Yeah. Of course, the CSS, of course, is not really explained, but that's fine. We'll look past that just because it's so smooth. It just looks so good. Wow. Yeah. So, is it sort of cringy and gimmicky? Absolutely, 100%. Is it helped by the fact that there's a logic tied into the narrative behind this action? Absolutely. Is it a surprising and celebration worth motion? Yes, it is. Does it make this a good 001? I think so. I think it knocks it over the edge. I mean, I think it's really, really. It just it barely gets there for me. Oh, there it is. I am Maria, protector of records. She became Marvelized here. She became Captain Reza. Yeah. All right, so I'll put it this way. I didn't like the drive. I didn't like the person who was driving. I didn't like the route that was taken. It was a little rickety, a little bumpy. But once we got to the end, damn, that was a good destination. That was a great view at the end of that rickety ride. I would have liked a different route to get there. I would have liked someone else driving, but yeah. I mean, and honestly, the writing itself, I can't say because I'm not reading it, but okay, yeah, I can fuck with that.
Maria, so now Maria has come back into physical reality and she's able to exist again because she reverted everything. She's no longer an informational entity. Maria still remembers that the anomaly exists and remembers all the things that happened with it. So it can never be totally ixnayed from reality. It still exists as like a tiny little idea that's only in Maria's brain and nobody else's. And it has a tiny little bit of power. With this power, if you ever decide you do want to look into 001 that says this like irrelevant thing on it, and you're like, that's weird, I want to look into it, the anomaly will use Maria Jones' credentials to send you these 4 other iterations of the document, because it made these 4 iterations of the document the other versions of reality. As some unsuspecting researcher rereads through these 4 versions of the document, as you, the reader, reading the 001 proposal, reads through these 4 iterations of the document, you start to perceive the anomaly as significant, and you cause the entire series of events to happen over again, and you...
Yeah, and that's why you have this like 1 shit. It's like feeding. It's like gorging itself on these ones. Yeah. Wow. That's very, very elegant. Because once again, it really utilizes the fractal image to good effect. I mean, wow. So, okay. I wonder why this is so underrated. I really do. Because that's as good of a punch as you're going to get, from a 001, I think. I still think it's just abysmal, all these different CSS changes, and but this is an accomplishment of an article. This is absolutely an accomplishment of an article. This is something to be proud of for sure. Accessing files. So, but here's another question though, and this is the same question as the numbers. So if you get rid of the first slot, the first slot is not something that you can destroy metaphysically, right? Because as soon as it's like trying to punch the ocean or punch water, because as soon as you take away what that first slot, abstract is, there's another one that's going to become the first one by default. So I guess that's obviously something the author would probably, concede, but I think obviously it's ignored, it's hand waved so that you can make this effect happen. So I'm not above being wild, and I think all in all this pulls through.
Put Maria Jones through the...
I'm pretty impressed.
Bringer all over again and destroy the universe all over again, just for it to cycle back.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's my
so once again,
personal...
it's the structural finesse in here. I don't think it's pataphysics. I think that gets in the way. I think that's a headache. I think that's basically trying to be way too smart. That right there is the smart part. It's not all the details, pataphysical details. It's not all the mumbo jumbo. It's that structural move. That's what's deep. That's what's brilliant. Doesn't necessarily rely on everything that we saw, but it certainly takes a lot of those things, puts it on its shoulder, and then makes a pretty dramatic finish with it.
Interpretation of the sequence of events that happens in my proposal.
I should have read those.
I need to go to the bathroom really quick, so I'm gonna let you think on that.
All right, and we're back.
All right.
Yeah, I didn't. I should have read the retired proposals. I think that would have really put it in place a lot more for me.
It's one of the puzzle pieces, yeah.
Yeah. I did not expect it to be a closed loop kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the coolest part about it. That's what blew my mind. Really, really cool.
That was that definitely whoosh on me. But that was cool, yeah.
And so that's the justification for why there's like these multiple versions of the document. You're reading through it after all of this has already happened, and while reading through it, you're causing it to happen.
It's fucked up, dude. It's fucked up, man. Seriously.
I actually do want to reread this now because I'm realizing you definitely seem like one of those authors where there's no waste. Like everything in the article is there for a reason. It's not just there for filler or whatever. That's why, I guess this is just my experience. I've been involved with the reading SCP articles on and off for the past 6 years, I think. And I think I've dealt with so many articles that like certain links are like not completely necessary. Like you can still kind of get through it without reading the little extra links mixed into the article. That's almost trained me to not. So
why does this have so few uploads?
Unless I really, really like the article and want to reread it again. But I think I will use this as a example of I should really end that habit, and for our listeners who also have that bad habit, this proposal I think is a good example to maybe stop.
Yeah, and again,
dude, this guy anticipated everything I had to say. In the comments it says, this is my critique of the significance we put on the 001 proposals as a community. Yes, it has elements of many other proposals in it. This is by design. Each of these iterations includes concepts and tropes of proposals that I admire with my own spin on them. Holy shit. Fuck. He got me. Got me again. Yeah, once again, like this valid interpretation thing. No, man, don't do that. Like you had a very, very specific, very vivid intent and structure. I mean, the structure, you can't, it's a very, while it's circular, it's very linear. There's really no room for like free exploration with that. Malice Graves says there's nothing new or innovative here. It's just cliff notes of other 001 proposals set in a way that is a fairly low effort attempt at metacriticism. Yeah. This comment really kind of implies you didn't read any parts of the article other than the first page. And Malice Graves, what a mess up of a person. Shaggy Dreadlocks 001 is in there. So I think this like this idea of it being a metacritique of the importance that we put on it as a community is not really, it doesn't really hold water. It's immediately self-defeating because you posted this as a 001. I don't know. I mean, could this have been another article? Probably not, honestly, now that I think about it. So well, it looked like it had taken a downturn. So this guy says, even if it gets deleted, this is something you should be proud of. I cannot believe that people don't see that there's more to this than just the Cliff Note version of other 001s. Like, I mean, it's a valid criticism to say, as I still do, that this samples other people's 001s, and those samples make up a very, considerable portion of the actual article. This feels like it suffers from sounding smart with being interesting, and I agree with that too. I think that's a 100% accurate criticism of this article. It tries very, very hard to be profound, but the whole point of this, I think, and one reason why I'm really glad we're doing this and doing this together, is because it's not any of that I'm trying to sound smart stuff that did it, that shut me up. It was the simple, demonstrative. Okay, it wasn't like, there's something that needed to be waxed poetic, philosophized upon. None of that. It was as simple as walking. It's just the direction that you took me in that walk. That was the profound part of this. So yeah, this is so totally true. Sounding smart, being interesting. But yeah, the end. I think the end. Maybe I'm just like wowed right now, and maybe this will calm down a little bit once I think about it a little more. But I think, God, man, I just got the shit slapped out of me. So maybe I'm just reeling. But it's so much more than just. Yes, it tries to sound smart. Yes, it borrows heavily from a bunch of other people's 001s. But then you get to the end, and it's a worthwhile read, man. It's like finding. It's like trying to drink a really stale beverage, and then at the very bottom of the glass, there's like this Reese's cup or something. That was a terrible analogy. It is the very fucking end, and I think that could be also another criticism of the article, is that it's really a slog to get to the payoff, and that's just conceptually. I'm not talking about the actual read, because I was just listening to him describe it and looking along when he did it. So just conceptually, it certainly is a slog to get through. It feels like you really have to like put in some work to get the payoff at the end. But I think it's worth it. Yeah, beyond the technical jargon and flashy presentation, there's very little substance to this article. I also agree with that. Because even that fun punch at the end, with the A's taken away and the ones taken away, that's still a gimmick. That's still a gimmick. Is that what I'm really impressed by? Is just the fact that I thought there was just cringy hidden text and it actually had a reason behind it in universe? Is that what I'm geeking out about over right now? Because I don't know. This is certainly an interesting 001. And I think, oh no, I'm sad to see it doesn't look like any of my critique was meaningfully applied. Hey, get over it, man. If somebody doesn't take your critique, don't hold it against them, okay? Well, it seems like this was a rather polemic article. I think it falls really flat. I think it's a sour note when it tries to hit that critique of the 001 slide. Like that's totally disingenuous. Like, because it's very clear that this is trying to still be celebratory of 001s, whether you're looking at the abridged retirement proposals or whether the fact that this is the 001. I think it really revels in and celebrates the 001 overdone significance, that, as he says it, the significance that they put on the 001s. I think it sort of revels in that a little bit. I don't know if Dr. Placeholder could write another 001, because I think this is a pretty good culmination of his style. Yeah. Okay. Well, if I was on the SCP Wiki, which I'm not, I would give this an upvote, just because, God, it's just such a tenuous balance here. It's such a tenuous judgment, but I think it comes out on top just because it loops so gracefully back into itself, and it's it is the article demonstration of a fractal. It pulls that off so well. It is seamless. The just like when you're going into a fractal, like a Mandelbrot set, and there's no interruption. Like that's what this feels like. This is the most impressive that I've seen of an article attain a geometry before. I think it's really, really well done. I think the structuring of this is is impressive enough to probably outweigh all the criticisms about it, which are definitely there. Definitely there. It's just that there was such a surprising highlight, and it was tucked away at the end, that I think maybe people don't get to it. And I mean, obviously you can think about what you want, even if you get to it. But I do think that you probably, you're probably going to lose most people with this setup. And not everybody's going to react the same way I did when I get there. But anyway, I think this is an accomplishment. I really do. I wish we could just do away with all this silly CSS crap. Even on this last page, honestly, this would be so much more believable. It would be so much more compelling and impactful if you didn't have this try-hard CSS, because that's really what it's a nice reflection of the actual build-up here. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to... I almost thought I saw a bad word right there. I'm going to have to chew on this a little bit, but I will say this. My mind was blown. Okay, so the title of the podcast, addendums. So why do you have addendum up here and addendums down here? Why not just, I don't know. My mind has been blown, so I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that. Like I said, I always want that to happen, and it takes a little bit of humble pie, but once you get the humble pie down, it's just sweet. It's just Cool Whip the rest of the way. It's just delicious. So yeah, great job. I certainly think this is something to be proud of. Maybe I'll do like a formal review on this for like the blog or the magazine, just because I need to get my thoughts organized about this. As you can tell, like it's almost like my mind has just been blown, literally, and there's like shrapnel over here and pieces over there, and I gotta try to put it back together. So we didn't finish the interview. We got like 15 minutes. I'll watch this on my own time, and if it looks like there's something else to talk about here, then we'll talk about it. But if not, we'll just move on to the next thing. So tomorrow night would be Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. CST. Hope to see you there. This is SCPCRNP, aka Lack of Lepers. Thank you so much for joining. What the hell are we going to get into next time? Take it easy.